this region in terms of the project planning and monitoring is concerned. Before moving to the content, I would like to say that, the engineer, the chairman of CECB, Athula, correctly pick up the point that because a lot of our engineering friends these days inquiring possibility of getting abroad, especially in Middle East opportunities. So most of them are asking that, what are the knowledge gaps we need to fill, how we can improve our skills, something like that. In that sense, actually, I try to give my big hand for these people who need to fill the knowledge gap in terms of the project planning and monitoring is concerned. That's the whole idea of the presentation. So let's move into the content. First of all, I would like to talk about the personal time management, like before moving to the project time management, something like that. And again, I would like to highlight what is the context in Sri Lanka in terms of the planning and controlling when compared with the Middle East context. So it will be helpful for you to understand how the Middle East people think about the planning engineer versus how the Sri Lankan context people think about planning engineer. And next, I will brief the project schedule management as per the PMBOK guideline 6, but I'm not going in detail. I will give just brief in that case. Next, I hope I'm going to just talk about the contractual references. I will follow the same FIDIC 1999 version and 2017 version as what the one who was the previous presenter has been referred in terms of the program is concerned. So the next part is the most important part, which I believe a lot of people are asking that how the S-curves are going to be generated, which is the basis for the earned value management system. This is purely like a hands-on experience, which I have gathered throughout my career. So it is actually not written in book. And so once I say that, you can understand what are the methodologies, what are the systems where we can have, generate this curve, something like that. And earned value management system also part of that. And next, I will just talk about the recovery and revise schedules, which is maybe most, most number of times people are using in the meetings and, for other professionals also, it is very important to know what is the difference. And again, we will talk about delay tracking register, which is also one of the main key document where planning engineers should have to maintain to support and assist for the delay claims. And next, I will give some final thoughts tonight. So let's move into the presentation. Yeah. Before moving to the project time management, always we are talking about like we are really busy, and my question is myself also, I'm telling sometimes busy, but I'm asking myself that, okay, really, I'm really busy or I am not setting my priorities correct. But once I ask this question myself, yeah, it is a matter of putting priorities correct. So that's why a lot of people, I know that a lot of engineers are having, organizing the things like they are list making, what are the activities you need to do in today. They are just write down the things and, they cut down whatever you have done, something like that. So in terms of, making the list, a lot of people are doing it. But the thing is, a lot of people are not giving the priority numbers for the activities which we need to perform for today. So most important thing is we need to prioritize what activity I need to do first, second, third, something like that. To do this, actually, we need to understand the urgency and the importance of particular task. That's why the people, invented like these quadrants to understand the urgency versus importance. Like if you go to the quadrant number 1, you can see that it is highly urgent and same time it is highly important to do this. In this case, actually, you have no time to think. It is very important, very urgent. It's like the example is house on fire. Just do it. Don't think too much. Just do it, whatever you're supposed to do. In quadrant number 3, you can see that it is high urgent, but it is less important. In such a case, what you can do, you can delegate this one to somebody under you, like your subordinate, and give him a deadline to get it done. In the other one, if you go to the quadrant number 4, it is a low urgency and low important. So in that case, you don't want to do it now. When you have time one day, just do it. Now we are coming to the quadrant number 2. Now it is not such urgent, it is a low urgency, but it is very important you to do. In such a case, you have time and schedule. You can plan it well. This is the way the scheduling and planning comes to play in the life. You have low urgency, but it is very important you to do. Take your time and plan it and schedule it well. Now I'm going to talk about the Sri Lankan context versus Middle East context in terms of the project time management. This topic has been talked enough in our whole life. What produced by the universities is not going to be catered what is demanded by industry. So I'm not going to, we have enough debate about this one. Still, I think that there are a lot of areas to improve, and in terms of the policy making level, there should be interference, and the academia and the industry should be collaborative. And so that I'm not going to talk about this much because it is enough talk subject in Sri Lanka, but I just need to mention that. And another thing is very important things. When I move to the Middle East, I recognize in Sri Lankan context, companies think that the PE, that's mean a planning engineer, is always fresh graduate. He's like a fancy bar chart creator. This is what I've given the name, because if you go to the Sri Lankan context, a lot of companies think that planning engineer is the person who's making like a color bar chart, something like that. But if you go to the Middle East context, it is totally different. It is like a real planning and scheduling, which they're expecting from the person. At least they ask like minimum 5 year experience, who has experience in site as a site engineer, project engineer. Next, you can become a planning engineer, something like that. This misconception, I think we need to take out, and we can educate the industry. And so I'm very happy to do it in Sri Lankan context. Underestimation of role of planners, yes. And other one also very important point, if you are willing to go to the Middle East region as a planning and delay analysis person, because my next lecture I'm going to talk much more about the delay analysis techniques, how it is forensically applied to the extension of time claim and prolongation cost claims. In this case, actually, planning engineer who are working in a Middle East need to have some sort of knowledge in terms of the contract administration as well as the claim procedures. It is not required as such a big knowledge like a contract administrator, but we need to just know maybe 5-6 clauses in detail to perform the duties on behalf of the contractor or client, something like that. This is also very important point. You can see failing to plan is planning to fail. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And you can see that in a stats, almost 16 projects in the world is on time, on budget, and comply with the specification. It is all about like 84% of the projects are challenging, are not completing on time with the cost, something like that. To enter into the project schedule management, I would like to take the definition of the project, which is given in the PMBOK guidelines 6th edition. Project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create unique product or service. Temporary means that it is having the definite beginning and end. That means that you have start date and you have finish date. In that case, it is linked to the schedule. That's mean the schedule means that you have a starting point, end point. In between, you will do some activities. Here, actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to explain this. This is the processes given in the PMBOK 6th edition with respect to the project schedule management. They have given like these 6 steps to develop the schedule. In here, I would like to take one process, like define activities and just explain what is this all about. In the project itself, it is having a scope of work, it is having deliverables. Because if elephant is big, you cannot eat it. That's why you need to divide into the manageable pieces. This is going to do under define activities. Project is a set of deliverables. Set of deliverables is going to break down into the WBSS, work breakdown structure. It's a high level of the dividing part of the deliverables. After WBSS are going to be divided into work packages. The work packages are again divided into activities. Activity is the most tiny piece of manageable thing in a project. So, because I'm not going to take time, as I said, I'm not going to say about how we are going to develop the schedule here. You can just speak. This is the most important slide which I would like to highlight in a Middle East context. Contractual references. I think Mr. Nuwan rightly picked the meaning of shall, Actually, here what I'm going to do, I picked the FIDIC Red Book 1999 version. In 1999 version, the subclause 8.3 is talk about the program. It says about how you need to submit the program. Let's go into the content. So, contractor shall submit the detailed time program. Here it's clearly said that shall, it means that engineer shall, it just means that it is a mandatory to do, it is obligatory to do, it is not a may. Because contractor shall do it. Submit the detailed time program. The important point I have highlighted in red, and I am going to pick and explain those things in detail. Detailed time program is not the defined term in a FIDIC. If you go to the FIDIC definitions in 1999 version, there is nothing called detailed time program. In the planner's perspective, people define this one as a detailed time program is like a detail in which experienced contractor's planner can reasonably judge with available information. It's called reasonably judge with available information. Because you can see that we need to submit this within 28 days of commencement of work. That means planner, let's say the time for completion is like 5 years, let's say 4 years, 3 years. He has only 28 days to submit the detailed time program. This is what we need to understand. But if you go to the 2017 version, they have changed this name. Once I go to the next slides, I can explain that one, because the practical point of view, the wording called the detailed time program is something doubtable to achieve within 28 days. Because if I know more detail, I can make more detailed program. Within 28 days, my knowledge is a little bit freeze, because I don't know such condition in a context and soil, how it is going to be interfaced in a practical sense is missing there. But anyway, in a 2017 version, it has been changed the wording. We can explain that one later. The contractor shall also submit a revised program. Revised program in the contractual language, revised program means that it is revision to the detailed time program. But as a planners, we are using different terminologies in our discussions. In the planners, actually, we have like a revised program as well as recovery program. But we don't want to mix up and misunderstand this in terms of the contractual language and the planners language, that because in the planners language we have two, but in the contractual language, for both they are talking, for both recovery and revise, they call revise program, right? And next, you can see that whenever the previous program is inconsistent with actual progress or with the contractor's obligation, each program shall be included. You can see that in a program, it should be include design, engineering, procurement, construction, testing and commissioning, and handover. And here you can see that in the Middle East context, the baseline program is really unique. It is starting with preliminaries, design, engineering, procurement, construction, testing and commissioning, and handover. Because this structure is unique in any project in the Middle East. This is also one point I just need to highlight compared with the Sri Lankan context. And again, I'm not reading those things. I'm going to pick the most important things because shortage of time. So major stages. Here, major stages is that you need to divide the construction site into zones sometimes sections, sometimes levels, sometimes discipline, structural, architectural, something like that. These stages also should be mentioned in the baseline program in different ways, And again, it should be comprised with the resource loading. Resource loading is clearly mentioned in the subclause 8.3. Contractors personnel. If you go, actually contractor personnel is the defined term in FIDI. It says that staff plus all labors. And again, you need to include the contractor's equipment also into the program. It is actually in the planner's language, it is called the resource loaded schedule. But in FIDIC, you can see that they did not mention you need to load the material. We cannot see anywhere else. It is mentioned that you need to load the material. But in the general practice, what we do, we normally load the main material, like in a road project. We are going to load like asphalt, concrete, maybe sub-base material, major quantities only. It is also not demanded by the clause, but in general, this is what we are doing, because I'm just explaining you through my experience that what we are doing, what is in a contract. And again, this is also a very important point. Unless the engineer within 28 days after receiving the program gives notice to the contractor stating the extent to which it does not comply with the contract. Actually, very important thing you need to understand, nowhere it has mentioned that engineer shall approve the detailed time program or schedule. It is not mentioned anywhere else. It mentioned that gives notice to the contractor stating the extent to which it does not comply with the contract. This is also misconceptualization. Sometimes actually in the bespoke some contracts, it is mentioned that yes, engineer shall approve the baseline program or the detailed time program. But in a FIDI, it is not mentioned that. It is mentioned that you need to say that to which extent it does not comply with the contract. Okay. And again, it says contractor shall proceed in accordance with the program subject to his other obligation under the contract. If there is a no response received, contractor shall proceed with the program because the and it is in 2017 it says that it is deemed to be no objection. Once I go there, I will explain that. And again, at any time, engineer gives notice to the contractor that program fails to comply with the contract to be consistent with the actual in progress. And contractors stated the intention. The contractor shall submit a revised program to the engineer in accordance with software. Then here it is mentioned that you need to submit the revised program if it is inconsistent, the actuals versus plan. Now I think it is clear that what are the requirements specifically demanded in this clause, as well as this is exactly practicing in the Middle East countries, because they once something is missing, they will reject the program. So likewise, we need to understand these are the requirements we need to fulfill when we are submitting the program. If you go to the Red Book 2017, the next version, you can see that they have changed the name, wording. Contractor shall submit an initial program. They have changed the word because a lot of, they have like continuous improvements from the professionals command, something like that. So they have improved that one, and now they are putting that initial program. And here from 1999 to 2017, they specifically mentioned you need to make it in a programming software. Previously, it was not there. It is not specifically mentioned. Either you can go with the manual in terms of books, but normally people go with the softwares. But here it is mentioned specifically you need to use the software. And again, they refer to commencement date and time for completion should be complied. And again, they correctly mention date, right of access, and the position of site should be mentioned in the program. And this is also a very important point. Review periods for the submission, like shop drawing submitters, how many days we will give to submit, how many days we will give for the approval. Let's say 7 days or 14 days. We just need to put it in. And another one important point in 2017 version is that they clearly told that the program should be contained in a PDF like these data, like early start, early finish, late start, late finish, and activity float and critical path. Because this is clearly mentioned in 2017 version when we are submitting the PDF version, because normally we submit the XCR file plus the PDF version. In a PDF version, the format is given clearly. And here in 2017 version, you can see that engineer shall review. He need to review now. He shall review. It's obligatory. It's mandatory to do. Review initial program and each revised program submitted by contractor and may give. He may give notice to the contractor stating the extent to which it does not comply with the contract. Now, engineer shall review, but he may give the notice now in this case. And this is a very important one. You can see that engineer shall be deemed to have given a notice of no objection and initial program. So it is like that, in 1999 version, it doesn't say, you can approve like that. But here it clearly says that, okay, no objection. If it is not, engineer shall be deemed to have given the notice of no objection. It doesn't mean that again engineer is given approval here. He said that I have no objection. It is contractor's program. He can say that I have no issue with this one. It is your program. You do it like that. And contractor shall proceed. This is the same content is repeating here. Again, they have changed the number of days here. 14 days after receiving the notice, submitted as program. If you go to the Middle East context, you need to submit project narrative along with the clause 8.3 program, key dates, productivity norms, WBS with the unique coding system, assumptions used, gun movement, like this, all things should have to compile into the narrative and submit. This is also not, I think, requirement in SL context as such, but in some project I know that people are submitting in in a way in which that they need to submit, but the majority projects it is not followed this all content. This is what I am going to explain today, which I think very important. මම දැන් පොඩ්ඩක් මේක මේ ස්විච් පෙන්නම් පොඩ්ඩක් සිංහල වලට. ඇත්තටම මේ මිඩල් ඊස්ට් කන්ටෙක්ස්ට් එකේදී වැදගත්ම දේ තමයි මේ earn value management system එක යනකොට ස්කර්ව් එක ජෙනරේට් කරන්න ඒගොල්ලෝ යූස් කරන බේසිස්. දැන් සමහර කට්ටිය තියනවා ඒකේ cost curves තියනවා, combined weightage curves තියෙනවා. මම ඒක තමයි මේ explain කරන්නේ. මොකද earn value management system එක totally depend වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මේ plan value එක අඳින එක මත. ඒකට ඒක අඳින්න to draw this one, there are number of methodologies and systems they use. I am going to explain you 3 number of systems. අතනම 3 විදියක් ගැන මම මේක explain කරනවා. මේක තමයි ඇත්තටම එහෙ ගිහිල්ලා ගත්ත experience එකේ වැදගත්ම දේ. Scope of දැන් මේ මම explain කරන්න යන්නේ මුලින්ම cost curves ඒගොල්ලෝ generate කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා. මුලින්ම ඒගොල්ලෝ scope of work එක WS work packages එක බෙදාගන්නවා. Contract value එක තමයි let's say 16 million. Contract value. Contract. මේක contract එකේ budget නෙමෙයි. Contract amount. මේක වැදගත් මේක තමයි we need to map the activities and BOQ items are totally 2 different things. Activities කියන්නේ physical execution එකට අපි මොනවද කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ කියන එක. What are the activities? Activities means that what are things we physically do. So BOQ item කියන්නේ ඒක budgetary purpose වලට හදපු document එකක් සහ sometimes ඒක use කරනවා evaluation purpose වලට. ඒතකොට අපි කරන්න ඕන BOQ item වල තියෙන all cost මේ activities වලට map කරගන්න ඕන. මෙතන ලොකු extensive work එකක් තියෙනවා. activities එනවා 5000 විතර. සමහරවිට BOQ items එන්නේ අපි කියමු ඒ තියෙන ගාණක් එනවා 500 හරි. මේක map කරද්දි ගොඩක් අපි careful වෙන්න ඕන හරියට map කරන්න. දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට BOQ item එකක් තියෙනවා grade 35 concrete කියලා. In first floor. Activities ගත්තම අපිට zones තියෙනවා මේ building එකේ example එකක් විදිහට zones පහක් තියෙනවා. ඒකේ grade 35 beams තියෙනවා එක එක තැන්වල. ඒතකොට ඒවට අපි subdivide කරගන්න. මොකද activities කරද්දී අපි practically කරන්නේ. ඕක පොඩි extensive work එකක් තියෙනවා ඔය mapping එක. BOQ mapping. ඒක අපි කරගන්න දැන් ඔය අනිත් category එක ගත්තොත් එහෙම BOQ item දෙකක් තියෙනවා. සමහරවිට එක activity එකයි එකකින් හැදෙන උදාහරණයක් තමයි දැන් අපිට we can give like a waterproofing activity. BOQ එකේ තියෙනවා paralastic apply කරන එක වෙනම, glass coat දාන එක වෙනම, ඒකේ මොනවා හරි prime එකක් ඒව වෙනම තියෙනවා. but activity එකක් විදිහට අපි කරන්නේ අපි එකපාරටම ඕක කරනවා ඔක්කොම දාලා. ඒකට activity එකක් විදිහට අපි එකක් තමයි ඒක වෙන්නේ. ඒකට ඒ විදිහට අපි පොඩ්ඩක් sort කරගන්න ඕනේ. එතන පොඩි extensive work එකක් තියෙනවා. අපි ඊට පස්සේ what we will do, we will map all BOQ items into the activity so that we will generate the S-curve. S-curve generate කරනවා අපි මේක weightage එක load කරලා. දැන් weightage load කරන විදිහ දැන් Primavera පාවිච්චි කරපුවා අය දන්නවා විදි කීපයක් තියෙනවා. මම මේක වැඩි explain කරන්න යන්නේ මෙතන අර ඒක වැඩි use කරපු නැති අයත් ගොඩක් crowd ඉන්න හින්දා ඒක අපි expense විදිහට ඉස්සර දැම්මේ. දැන් ඇත්තටම ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපි resource එකක් විදිහට තමයි දාන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ non labor resource එකක් හරි material resource එකක් හරි විදියට. ඒක වෙනම වැඩක්. අපි ඒක අපි just හිතමු අපි දානවා we will load and assign these cost of activities into some sort of resources. resource එකක් විදියට අපි allocate කරලා අපි S-curve එක generate කරනවා. මේකෙදි වෙන්නේ වැදගත්ම දේ තමයි මේකේ project එකේ total contract value එක තමයි අපි load කරන්නේ cost එකක් විදියට. හරි. මේවා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ cost curves සාමාන්‍ය අපි building project වල වගේ ඒක client තමයි කියන්නේ මේ cost curve තමයි අපේ basis එක කියලා. එතකොට අපි cost curve generate කරනවා. සමහර contract වලත් ඒක කියලාම තියෙනවා. ඒක කියන විදිහට තමයි අපි project එකට ගියාම project managers ලා ඒ consultant team එකත් එක්ක කතා කරලා ඒගොල්ලෝ යන curve එකට තමයි අපි යන්නේ. මෙන්න මේ විදිහ සමහර curves තියෙනවා. combined weightage curves තියෙනවා. දැන් මෙන්න මේකට ආවට පස්සේ තමයි ටිකක් ප්‍රශ්නය අමාරු වෙන්නේ. දැන් මම ඉඳපු එක ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකේ combined weightage curve මේ ගොඩක් අපුඩාපු එක පාවිච්චි කරනවා. labor and machinery units දෙක අරගෙන ඒකෙන් තමයි weightage එක හදාගන්නේ. මුලින්ම first they will give like predefined WBS weightages. They will give predefined WBS weightages. උදාහරණයක් විදිහට preliminary වල 2% තමයි දෙන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ. ඒක predefined. Nobody can change it. ඒක ඒගොල්ලෝ by experience මේ project වල ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒක හොයන් තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට අපිට predefined weightage එකක් දුන්නා අපිට ඒක ගන්න වෙනවා. අපි කරන්නේ ඔන්න විදිහට දැන් මම design by employee එකක් කරන් තියෙන්නේ 2යි 106යි 4යි 85යි 2යි 1යි කොහොමද 100 හැදෙන්නේ. අපි ඊට පස්සේ කරන්නේ අපි activities ටික දාලා දැන් තව එකක් දෙනවා ඒගොල්ලෝ machinery වලයි man power වලයි conversion factor එක දෙනවා. ඒක ඒගොල්ලෝ determine කරමු conversion factor එක. මෙන්න මේ factor එකෙන් තමයි machinery to man නම convert කරන factor එක කියන්නේ. මේ දෙක දෙනවා ඒගොල්ලෝ. In such case what we will do we will identify the activities list of activities identify කරලා අපි budgeted labor units ගානයි budgeted machinery units ගානයි we are going to determine from the productivity rates and it's a normal planning process scheduling process. ඊට පස්සේ what we will do we will convert these machinery units to equivalent labor units. මේක තමයි මේකේ trick එක තියෙන්නේ. ඒක equivalent labor units වලට අපි convert කරාම උදාහරණයක් විදිහට පළවෙනි එක demolition and removal කියන එක budgeted units 1000 තිබ්බා equivalent factor එක 8 හින්දා අපි equivalent machinery unit labor unit වලට convert කරාම මේක 8 times 500 වෙනවා. එතකොට 4000. එතකොට ඕක එකතු කරලා ඕකෙන් ගන්නවා අපි ඒක ඒගොල්ලෝ කියනවා construction weightage construction unit තමයි අපේ activity තියෙන්නේ construction units අපි කොච්චරද කියලා හොයාගන්න. උදාහරණයක් විදිහට දැන් මේකේ activity 3යි 137500 තමයි එන්නේ. එතකොට අර conversion factor එක. එතකොට මේක construction unit කියලා තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ. Right? So it is going to be equivalent to 85% now. They have given the predefined weightage. It is 37,500 will equal. So what we will do, we will take 37,500 equal to 85% and we will recalculate based on the predetermined the weightages. Predetermined the percentages. We are going to recalculate the new labor resource units. And now it is becoming 44,118. So we are going to load this. The main the most of the time we are going to use this one like a like then you can machinery driven again labor intensive machinery intensive works සමහර දැන් මම offshore project එක වැඩ කරා. ඒතකොට ඒකේ ගොඩක් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ තිබ්බේ ඒ විදිය ඒවා තමයි. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ methodology එක තමයි යන්නේ S curve එක generate කරන්න. Why I am saying this one because if you go to the earned value management system this is the basis because you need to know how the plan value is generated, how the S curve is generated. දැන් ඔය ගොඩක් අපි Middle East කියන පස්සේ මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ අපි S curve එක generate කරලා තියෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා දන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් මමත් මුල් දවසේ ගියා මොකද්ද මේ කරලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා එකෙන් එන progress එක කොහොමද කියලා අපිට අවබෝධය අඩුයි. මොකද cost curve නම් අපි දන්නවා. මේ weightage curve ගියාම ටිකක් අපිට තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ ඒක. දැන් මේ විදිහේ process එක ගිහිල්ලා තමයි we will generate the S curve. මේ S curve එක generate කරන විදිහ තමයි අපි හැමෝටම ගොඩක් වැදගත්. තව ඒවා තියෙනවා this is also third way of doing it. The first way is the cost curve, second way is the labor and machinery combined curve. Now තව විදියක් මට ඒක හම්බෙලා තියෙනවා. මේක සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි කතාර වල some clients I don't want to say the name ඒකල use කරන විදිය right ඒගොල්ලෝ කරන්නේ cost, labor and duration කියන තුනම ගන්නවා program එකෙන්. දැන් මේ weightage එක හොයන හැටි මම කියන්නේ. Right? What they will do, because budgeted labor units තියෙන, ඒතකොට labor units වෙන 3500 තියෙනවා. If you go to the cost also loaded, it is එක කටරියල් වලින් තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට duration එක තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට මේක units කීපයක් ඉන්න දැන් same unit වලට convert කරන method දෙකක් ඒගොල්ලෝ හිතනවා. ඒගොල්ලෝ decide කරනවා දැන් මේක මේව සාමාන්‍ය mixed development project වල waiting කරන්නේ මෙහෙම. දැන් mix කිව්වම ඔක්කොම තියෙනවනේ දැන්. ඒකේ තියෙනවා luxury apartment තියෙනවා, hotels තියෙනවා, landscaping තියෙනවා. ඒ ගොඩක් තියෙනකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ combine weightages යනවා මේ තුනෙන්. right? ඒකෙදි කරන්නේ මේවා different units වලින් අපි හොයා ගන්නවා. කරලා what we will do, they will give these predetermined weightages. They will say that, okay, budgeted labor units, we will give only 30% of the weight. Budgeted cost, we will give 60%. Duration, we will give 10. Why not 35? I don't know. Because it is based on their experience. They have found this formula. Samar project 35. It is based on their experience. This is what this is given by the consultancy team. Sometimes it is put into the time control procedure. Time control procedure kala particular condition වලදී ඒකට දානවා සමහර වෙලාවට. ඒතකොට මේකෙදි කරන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ කියනවා මෙන්න මේ weightage එන්න ඕන මෙන්න මේ වට 30 60 10 කියන එක ඒගොල්ලෝ දෙනවා. Decided total weightage එක 1 million units කියලා. හරි. එතකොට අපි කරන්නේ මේ 1 million units බෙදා ගන්නවා මෙන්න මේ දැන් labor වලට එන්න ඕන 1 million units times 30% කිව්වම 300,000 තමයි එන්න ඕන labor වලට. එතකොට cost එකට units එන්න ඕන 600. එතකොට duration එකට 100,000. එතකොට ඕක අපි දැන් ඒක redistribute කරගෙන අපි දැන් බලනවා we know that demolition, excavation and subbase preparation on proportion එක දන්නවා 3500 වලට. We know how much percentage in between that. Okay, how in 2000 divided by 3500 අපි දන්නවා ඒකේ percentage එක. ඒක redistribute කරනවා මේ labor units. What we are going to do, we are going to, because we know here what is the percentage in terms of 3500. Now we will redistribute by keeping the same percentage here to this. We redistribute 300,000. So cost එකත් එහෙම. මේ තියෙන proportion එක මෙතන redistribute කරනවා. This is the way we will do. Now we will keep the 1 million units. Now what we will do, now these all line 1 unit. You understand me? I think this, because previously this is Qatarial, this is man hours, this is in a totally different units. Now as a basis, all line 1 units, now we will add those things in this way and find out what is the total weighting factor. And this is going to be a 1 million units. මේක ගොඩක් කලාවට පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ දැන් අර මං කිව්වා වගේ it is going to be like a mixed development project. වල තමයි මේක ගොඩක්. ඒක ගොඩක් labor intensive part තියෙනවා, cost conscious part තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ weightage එක එහෙම තමයි define කරන්නේ. This is the most 3 important ways which I need to highlight you, because the whole early management system is going to be based on this generation of S curve. Now, ඕගොල්ලෝ අහලා ඇති තව දැන් මේ front loaded curve, back loaded curve ඒව මේව කියනවා දැන් meeting වලට ගියාම. Once we go to the meeting, people are talking about like these things. The front loaded එකේදී කරලා තියෙන්නේ risk to the contractor. දැන් ගොඩක් කලාවට අපි කරන්නේ අර දැන් weightage එකෙන් අපි we know that what is the most weighted activities. We are going to plan those activities most front of the project. එතකොට වෙන්නේ මේ S curve එක ඉස්සරහට load වෙනවා. So when contractor is having big risk, because if contractor miss something, again this is going to be because it is going to be showing big deviation. Deviation එක වැඩි වෙනවා. The contractor පොඩි එකක් miss කරනවා. එතකොට backloaded curve වලදී වෙන්නේ employees having risk. Contractor ඔක්කොම pass කරලා තිනෝ එහා කොනට. The tail end එක. So in that case, what will happen? It is risk to the employee, because if something is missing in a later part of the project, we have very limited time to do something. The මේ දෙකම නැතුව අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අර weightage load කරාට පස්සේ we try our best to take the balance S curve. We try our best because by doing some compression techniques like අපිට එනවා නම් front loaded එකක් අපි ටිකක් ඒක squeeze down කරලා ගන්නවා resource leveling smoothing කියලා techniques තියෙනවා ඒවා පාවිච්චි කරලා අපි මේක balance කරනවා overall. ඒක ඇත්තනම දැන් මේක there's no hard and fast rule that this is the exact way the S curve should be, but in the common sense approach we try to keep the S curve in a balanced way. The මේ ඔක්කොම පොත්වල නෑ නමුත් this is the matrix. තව එකක් තමයි maybe if you be in a monthly progress meeting or weekly progress meeting in Middle East context again, a lot of people are talking about banana curves. When I go there I was thinking what is banana curve, but banana curve කියන්නේ දැන් මේගොල්ලෝ හැම එකේම තියෙනවා late curve එකයි early curve එකයි. දැන් අපි S curve කියලා generate කරන්නේ නිතරම පෙන්නන්නේ early curve එක විතරයි. We are just showing the early curve. Nobody talk about late curve. Late curve is a hidden factor. තව මම insights එකක් දෙන්න ඕනන්ට දැන් early curve එකේ if we miss this date, okay, let's say we miss to achieve this. My question is, are we delaying the project? අතම අපි delay කරන්නේ නැහැ. Still now contractor again look argument එකක්. If I miss this date, still I have time because I could have to go with the late curve as well. This is his right. As a contractor, he has right to go with the late curve even, because he has right to drive the project within this any curve, something like that.
Chatura,
oh,
if I'm to disturb a little bit, sorry to disturb. I think there's a term called floating. Float. Is that the float? Is it the float? The float time?
Yes, of course. Ek mang explain karna. Make a float. This is the where float is going to be eaten. Ek float තියෙන හින්දා තමයි මේක shift කරලා තියෙන late curve එක යන්නේ ඇත්තටම float එක back එකෙන් යන්නේ. දැන් මේ මෙතන මේ float එකක් තියෙන හින්දා තමයි මෙයාට මේ play කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මෙතන total float එක. Okay. Right? Then ගොඩක් වෙලාවට contract කරලා කියනවා okay if I miss this date is like a crime that consultant are thinking that is a crime. It's really not a crime. The delays are inevitable. Delays are happening in the world. But the thing is, unless if you are not crossing this value, still you are okay. Because you have been eating the float where it is available. Right? මම එක අර අපේ final thoughts එකේ මම එක insights එකක් දෙන්නම්. Right? මේකත් then overall, if you go to the Middle East context, people will be talking about this banana curves and EVA here. Earn value analysis. I'm not going to talk about much in this jargon because the basis to the earn value is the what I just need to explain you. මේකදී අපි හැමෝම දන්නවා plan value එකක් තියෙනවා, actual cost එකක් තියෙනවා, earn value එකක් තියෙනවා. These are the three measurements which will give the project status. The plan value එක ගැන තමයි අපි මේ මෙච්චර වෙලා කතා කරේ. Plan value curve එක අඳින හැටි එක තමයි අපි මේ කතා කරේ. මෙච්චර වෙලා S curve එක. ඒතර budgeted cost of work schedule කියන plan value එක අඳින basis එක ගැන තමයි we were talk about innovating system and everything. Right? Plan value is defined as a planned cost of the total amount of work scheduled to be performed by the data date. That means how much we plan to achieve. ඒක තමයි budgeted cost of work schedule. මම මේක විස්තර කරන්නේ මේ theory part එක මම මේක application එක අපි බලමු. Actual cost of work performed කියන එක මම I need to just tell something. A lot of people misunderstood this one when it's come to the project. Actual cost of work performed කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම actual cost with respect to the what we have performed. Like PMP කරපුවා මේවා ඇත්තම go through කරලා තිනවා, but in the actual situation how we can measure this. Make a measure කරන්න නම් there should be some separate ERP system in the contract, in the project. So in the project, okay, ERP system එකක් තියෙන්න ඕන activity wise cost එක assignment. If you ask from accountant in the side, what is the total actual cost today? එයා ඔක්කොම දෙනවා අපිට cost එක. එයා කියනවා සිමෙන්ති ගෙනාවා නම් සිමෙන්ති 100ක් order කරගෙන ගෙනාවා නම් පහයි පාවිච්චි කරලා දෙන්නේ 45ක් stores එකේ දෙනවා, but he will give total cost. This is not what I mean here. This is the actual cost of work performed. Actual cost with respect to what work has been performed. මේක ගන්න ඇත්තටම අපිට හොඳ system එකක් ERP system එකක් හරි මොකක් හරි තියෙන්න ඕන ගන්න. ගොඩක් companies වල මේක හරියටම activity wise එනවද කියන එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා, in place කරගෙන නැහැ real system එක. ඒතකොට ඒක සමහරවල් Excel sheet වලින් කරනවා practically, but ඒකත් හොඳයි. ඒකේ accuracy එකත් ගොඩක් අය අරන් තියෙනවා systems දාලා මොන හරි process දාලා ඒක ගන්න. මේක ගොඩක් මට කියන්න ඕනේ මෙතන මේ actual cost of work perform කියන්නේ accountant ලා දෙන අපේ ඒ value එක නෙවෙයි. This is not what I mean. This is actual cost of work performed. Because this is the most important part. This is the earned value. Earned value is the budgeted cost of work performed. ඒක කියන්නේ budgeted cost in terms of the how much work has been performed. It is called actually real how much worthness I am getting. Really, how much worth I am getting of the work which I have performed today. In terms of the budgeted cost is concerned. In terms of the budgeted cost is concerned. This is very important. Then this is the whole story. You can see here, this is how much I supposed to achieve in the 4th month, let's say. Okay. This is how much really worth I get. 3,400. In order to get this much of worth, I have spent 2,450. This is the whole story. This is how much I supposed to achieve, but this is how much I really achieve in terms of the budgeted cost is concerned. But this is how much I spent to achieve this. This is the whole story and status of the project. The whole story is this. See, now, these project management people define terms, people are talking. If you go to the meetings, the SPI is how much they're asking from the planner, something like that. So you can see that මේක තමයි අපි achieve කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ටික plan value එක. මේක තමයි ඇත්තටම අපේ achieve කරේ එක. මේක තමයි achieve කරන්නේ cost එක. මේක දැන් plan schedule variance එක අපි හැමෝම දන්නවා EV minus PV. EV minus PV. In terms, මේක දැන් අපි read කරද්දී අපි බලන්න ඕන මෙතනට අපි we supposed to achieve this much, but we achieve this much. එතකොට ඒක අඩුවෙන් තමයි අපි achieve කරලා තියෙන්නේ. It is called behind the schedule. ඒක SPI එක less than 1 කියලා ඒගොල්ලෝ කියනවා. එතකොට අපි බලන්න cost variance එක මේ situation එකේදී we have really get worth this much, but to achieve this much of real worth, I have spent this much on. ඒකෙන් මම හොඳයි දැන්. Cost saving එකක් තියෙනවා. It is called under the budget. Because if we continue like this, we are getting more cost savings in terms of the budget is concerned. Not the profit is concerned, in terms of the budget is concerned. The budget saving එකක් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒකේදී ඒගොල්ලෝ කියන CPI එකට වඩා වැඩි නම් under budget. අඩු නම් over budget. SPI එක behind the schedule එකට වඩා අඩු නම් ඒක ඒ විදිහට මේකෙන් එතකොට estimated at completion එක අපිට මේ formula වලින් ගන්න පුළුවන්. මම මේව ගොඩක් explain කරන්න යන්නේ but I will tell you just the concept. You can see that here. Now this is plan value, this is the earned value, this is the actual cost. You can see that in terms of the schedule, we are bad at. We are not good at. Remember, we are behind the schedule. In terms of the cost, in terms of the time, we are bad at. We are behind the schedule. In terms of the cost, we are good at. You can see that the forecast is going like this. In terms of the schedule, we are bad at. You can see that this is the delay if we continue in the same rate of progress. But in terms of the cost, you can see that this is budget saving which we can take end of the project because here we are doing better. But always this, the programs are just, forecasting based on the current status. Right? Then that now, if we go to the meetings, you cannot see two curves because you can see here there is a actual cost curve, there is an earned value curve. If you go to any meeting with the clients, there's a plan value curve, after that actual progress curve. Remember? Because two is there. My question, if so, why we don't see two curves, earned value and actual cost? This question should be raised, correct? Yeah. Because always what we are doing, we are making and developing the S-curves in terms of the client perspective. This is what we are doing, which we include in the monthly progress report. ඒකදී අපි කරන්නේ ඇත්තම client actual cost එකයි earn value එකයි same නැත්තේ. client මොකද client ඒකේ contract value එකනේ අපි load කරන්නේ. එතකොට client එක ගත්තාම එතනදී ඇත්තටම එයාට real earn වෙන value එකට එයා pay කරනවා. එයාගේ actual cost එක වෙන්නේත් ඒකයි. ඒකෙන්ද තමයි ඒකේ ඇත්තටම ගත්තාම SPI විතරයි අපි ඒකෙන් mine. අපිට cost performance index mine වෙන්නේ මම දැන් කියන්නම් ඒක කොහෙද apply වෙන්නේ කියලා. cost එකේදී ඇත්තටම ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ earn value management system එකකින් client perspective එකකින් අදින S-curve එකේ it is something like there's a no relevance to the cost variance. ඒක වෙන්නේ මෙන්න මෙහෙමයි. දැන් අපි ගත්තාම contract value එක 10 million වුණාම දැන් උදාහරණයකට අපි example එකක් contract value is 10 million and contractor's project budget. What will happen? Once contractor is awarded 10 million, okay, company say that my profit is 2 million. You just do this one in 8 million. Let's say example. ඒක budgeting කරලා ගන්න ඒක වෙන story එකක්. But මෙතනදී අපි වෙන්නේ මෙතනදී client පෙන්නන්නේ ඇත්තටම මෙතන achieve වෙන progress එක. In here we have no actual cost and earned value. Both are same here. මෙතනදී තමයි ඇත්තටම අපි මේක internal curve එකක් contractor. This is going to be contractor's internal curve. It says that how I am going to make a budget saving. මේක ගැන අපි ප්‍රශ්න දෙනවා කතා කරමු. මේක internal curve එකක් 8 million load කරාට පස්සේ ඒක මෙතන තමයි S curve එකේ ඇත්තටම නියම application එක තියෙන්නේ. Sorry. Earn value management system. Because this is the internal curve where that contractor use the earn value management tool, earn value management as a tool to find the status of the project and control the project. ඒක තමයි මෙතනදී. ඒකින්ද තමයි අපිට අර two curve පේන්නේ නැත්තේ. මේ contractor ගේ internally මේ curve එක තියෙනවා. right? මේකත් ඇත්තටම වැදගත් එකක්. දැන් as I explained before, in the FIDIC terms and contract administrators call the revised program. What it means in terms of the contractual language, the revised can a revision to the baseline program or initial program, whatever they call. ඒක revision එක ඇත්තටම වෙන්න පුළුවන් ඒගොල්ලෝගේ ඒ terminology එක හරි. ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. අපි නම් planners ලා විදියට පාවිච්චි කරද්දී අපි පාවිච්චි කරන two terms ඇත්තටම revise and recovery කියලා. ඒක contradict කරගන්න ඕනේ නෑ. අතන revise කිව්වොත් එහෙම ඒ දෙකම ඇතුළත්. ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. අපි අපිත් එක්ක කතා කරද්දී මේ විදිය language එක තමයි යන්නේ. ඒතකොට දැන් මේ විදිහකට අපි revise program එකක් හදන්න කිව්වොත් planners language එකෙන් අපි කරන්නේ මෙතන මෙන්න මෙතන ඇත්තම revise program එකක් හදන්න නම් extension of time එකක් grant වෙනවා. That means time for completion should be extended. Make example එක විදියට 12 months තිබ්බ 14 months කියලා දෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ 2 months extension එක grant වුණාම what we are going to do, we are going to replan the remaining activities. Remaining activity replan කරාම මෙන්න මේ විදියට curve එක develop වෙනවා. Right? And a white curve again, a dotted line again. The recovery means that there's a no extension of time. Extension of time that then the client is going to say that this is your culpable delay, the contractor's culpable delay. You just recover your program. ඒකෙදී අපිට කරන්න තියෙන්නේ 16000 meet වෙන විදියට remaining work එක replan කරගන්න. ඒකදී අපි ඔය schedule compression එහෙම use කරනවා fast tracking හරි crashing හරි ඒක use කරලා නෙමෙයි. තව වෙලාවකට කියනවා මේ catch up programs හදන්න කියලා. අහලා ඇති සමහර වෙලාවට. catch up කියන්නේ අපි recovery එක අපි total time for completion එක end date එක වෙනකම් we have opportunity to do the adjustment. But in a catch-up schedules, we don't have that opportunity. The opportunity again, within, let's say, 3-4 months, we need to achieve the plan. Tapi, schedule compression and maybe the schedule compression techniques enough time talk. I'm not going to discuss in a much detail. Fast tracking we are going to change the sequence of the work. Sequence එක වෙනස් කරලා අපි ඒක quiz down කරනවා. එතකොට අපි parallel work කරනවා. We are going to do parallel work. But if you go to the crashing, what we will do, we will add the new resources. It is maybe costly. But if you go to the fast tracking, it is like a risky because we are going to do parallel works there. But if you go to the crashing, it is very costly because we need to bring the new resources to complete the work. Maybe enough time to talk about it. But in a practical sense, this is also very important item in terms of the practical perspective. In a lot of projects in the Middle East, they maintain what is called delay tracking register. It's a must take because all planning engineers' responsibility to maintain the delay tracker as a live document. ඒකෙදී අපි එදිනෙදා වෙන delay events මේ විදිහට record කරනවා. මේක නිකන් sample එකක් තමයි අපි කරන. Normally we need to record these all delays. Sometimes some are very strong, some are weak, but some are mediumly strong. ඒක අපි කරලා we need to maintain those all delays which is happening in the project in the delay tracking register. මේක live document එකක් විදිහට the planner should have to maintain, right? Planner is having the responsibility to raise the flag when he thinks that this should have to be addressed contractually. He knows that, he is aware that this is the time I need to raise the flag and ask contract people to send the letter or something like that. Planning engineer responsible. Planning a Middle East country, we need to know this context. That's what I'm giving some insights at them. Maintaining contemporary records and detailed particulars. Make a very important point. With regards to delay tracker, you need to maintain all required data like daily progress reports data. What has happened, if delay has happened, what are the proof you can give, something like that. He need to maintain as a contemporary records. It's like a day-to-day basis you are going to maintain those things. Identification of set of merited and strong data. Make it very important because once you come to the extension of time section, I might explain when I come to that session. The planners, because normally in the delay tracking register, we are going to record all delays. Like if you go to the real delay tracker, it is having maybe 100 delays. But if we come to the delay analysis and do some forensic basis delay analysis, we cannot go with all such of delay events. It is practically impossible. That's why we need to pick some merited plus the strongest delay event. Let's say out of 100, we need to select 10, 12, 15, something like that. Because those things are more stronger in terms of the contractual, in terms of the impact, something like that. This insight, this tip also should have to provided by the planning engineer because he could not give the whole idea, but he could have to give some sort of selected and filtered set of delay events to the delay analysis or claim people. Maintaining delay chronologies. This is also a very important point because once you have the delay event, what you need to do, you need to maintain the chronology. Chronology in the sense that what is the notice you have given, when you have given this one. Through the email, if you notify this one, again, you need to put into the chronology. Likewise, it is all about storytelling. Actually, claim is all about storytelling, nothing else. It is something like that way in which that how you are going to present this one. And it's something like the art and science, mixture of things. And I think I came to the last slide because I'm doing time management. I was thinking that, whether I can manage the time. I have exactly 5 minutes. I don't know whether I skip some areas, but I think most of you know that areas, because what I need to emphasize here is that what is the knowledge and set of skills you need to gather if you go to the Middle East countries. That's the areas which I need to give new knowledge. I think I have explained, but let's talk about final thoughts tonight. Does engineer obligate to approve, accept the baseline schedule? This has been explained. 1999 version, there's no wording called shall, engineer shall approve. But in some context, I know that in the Middle East countries, some clients, some employers has put some clause under the particular condition, or they call special conditions, saying that engineer shall approve the schedule or baseline schedule, recovery schedule. It depends on the contract, but in generally, it did not say. But in 2017 version, it said that it's deemed no objection, something like that. Can engineer apply LDs if contractor records the variance? Like, it's like, can engineer apply the LDs? Until contractor cross the date of project completion, let's say the expiration of the time for completion, engineer cannot apply the LDs. He can just give like a slow progress notice and the bad performance, something like that. But until then, the engineer crossed the time for completion. That's mean the project completion date. The engineer cannot apply the LDs. It's like by book, like that, the contractor can say that, okay, yeah, කරන්නේ දවස් 95ක්ම වැඩ කරන්නේ, time for completion එක 100 now. Like, last 5 days I will bring devils and angels and I will do within 5 days. ඒක by book ඒක කියන්න පුළුවන්. Right? ඒක practically possible නෑ තමයි, but it is what it's all about. If contractor missed to commence the work on plan start date in baseline schedule, is it called delay? As Nalin correctly mentioned, no, because still you could have to wait until the late start date to start that one, because this is in a planned dates in the program. Always it is the early dates. S-curve එකත් early dates තමයි යන්නේ. දැන් අපි baseline එක ඔය submit කරනවානේ contractor. ඒකේ early dates ම තමයි තියෙන්නේ. ඒක late dates නෙවෙයි තියෙන්නේ. Start කියන එක ඔය ඕන program එක කියන්නේ මම කියන්නේ software එක දැම්මාම start date කියලා එන්නේ early date තමයි. ඒක plan date එක, එතකොට ඒක plan date එක miss වුණායි කියලා ඒක project delay එකක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක critical path එකේ මම critical path කෙනෙක් කියන්නේ නැතුව මේ කියන්නේ හිටියේ මේ දෙකක්. මොකද මේක මම critical path enough time discuss ඇත්තටම මේ ගොඩක් forum වල ඕගොල්ලෝ ගන්නවා. මේක ඇත්තටම project delay එකට බලපාන්නේ නැත්තම් ඒක ඒ plan start date එක miss වුණාට ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. What does mean by the project delay means that if any delay event has been impacted the project completion date, expiration of a time for completion, yes, it is called delay. Again, does project delay something like the crime? This is also one point what I need to say. If you been in the meetings in the Middle East, it's like, a lot of people are thinking like it is a crime. If you miss the date, actually it is not a crime. It is normal. Delays are normal. Delays are inevitable. It is happening all around the world. And all project, it is normal. The crime is, let me explain what is the crime. Crime is that, okay, if you miss the start date, let's say you could not commence in particular day, and again you don't know when you can start the same activity, it is like a crime, because you need to have contingency plan like this. Okay, today I supposed to start this particular activity, because of XYZ reasons I could not achieve this day, but I will achieve in the next Wednesday. And this is how I am going to recover this one in a catch-up program or whatever. It may be in the paper, it may be in the some sort of notes. But as far as if you have this plan, it is not a crime. A lot of people think that, missing the date is crime, but it is not. And again, a lot of times we talk about this, who owns the float? Enough discussions, enough challenge, enough doubt has been raised throughout the whole professional jargons. But the in a short, I would say that, the float is owned to the project. Sometimes some contract itself I have seen, it says that projects own to the person who consume it first. This is also one method which we can say, but in generally what we can say is the float is owned to the project, not to the contractor, not to the employer, not to the engineer, whoever. And contractual program and working program. If you go to the Middle East countries, actually there are two programs in some projects, not all projects. Some clients actually need contractual program is a baseline program which we are submitting based on the 8.3 subclause. But in some case, it is not detailed enough. In that sense, some clients are asking working program. It is more detailed than the contractual, as well as it is updating like a daily basis. Contractual program is going to update, let's say, as per the contract requirement, maybe weekly or monthly. But in the working programs, they are making adjustment daily basis and doing some, extensive work. I would call that one like a micromanagement of the programs. This is, here we go. And so I just try my best to manage the time, but I think I have missed some slides and some insights, but in a generally, I try my best to convey the message which I need to send you.
Thank you, Chatur. And I think in your words that you have made the timeline with the prioritized activities, I should say, and the prioritized and the most important activities have been, I feel, in my perspective, it's all been covered. Thank you, Chatur, and thank you very much. We'll quickly move into the Q&A session, and with the presence of our resource person, engineer Chatur. And Chatur, I have personal learnings today. I have lots of learnings today, and what I've seen is this project planning is not just, as you well mentioned at the beginning, that the project planning is not all about simply putting some bar charts. And what we used to do in Sri Lankan context is put somebody who can make some good artworks in MS projects, so some Excel versions, and accolade or give him the name as a planning engineer and bring him to the project management meetings and show that this is our planning engineer. But what I learned today, the best learning out of today's session is this is a very serious business, and this could be helpful in the future claims and all these project ambiguities, and even avoiding people go for the arbitration. If we have these proper contemporary records, that could be the best and the most important document. And especially for the younger professionals here, what I can advise is this profession, the planning profession, is very important, and this has to be learned through different proper sources, because going through these technical jargons, somebody who has no idea about these technical versions, I'm sure that people might have surprised by see, we have to learn those things as well. And the positive part is having this opportunity is a good opportunity for Sri Lankans, especially ours, because my experience in Middle East, I know that Sri Lankan people are quite capable of grabbing those points and present them properly. So we have a very good opportunity, especially in Middle Eastern countries, if you follow proper courses and proper understanding of this project. Moving into the questions, Chatur, because what we know is Primavera is the prime software being used in Middle East, but in Sri Lankan context, we mostly use MS Project, Microsoft Project. Yeah. So what's your observation of using Primavera and MS Project? And the Primavera, is it the only way of doing it, or can we do everything what is done in Primavera with MS Project, or is it the preferred method of doing project planning and these other analysis as well?
Yeah, Nali. The answer to this question is like, in a Middle East region, most of contracts, it says that we need to follow the Primavera. Let's say they put the 6.0 version even. In a contract itself, it is demanded sometimes. But in the sense of Primavera, MSP, I am not, I am not such extensively used nowadays because I use the Primavera for last 5 years, something like that. But before that one, I have used MSP and Primavera. But what I observe and what I understand is that now MSP also developed to some extent to which that cope with the features of the Primavera. But preferred way of making programs in Middle East countries is the Primavera. Other thing is that in terms of the software perspective, right? Like MSP, if you plan with MSP, like let me explain in Sinhala, I can explain much easier in that case. ඒක MSP එකේ අපි predecessor successor link කරද්දිම right ඒක link වෙනවා දැන් අපි මේ activity එකක් දාලා finish to start 2 days lag එකක් දැම්මම මේක 2 එකක් right ඊට පස්සේ next activity එක අපි finish to start 5 days එකක් දැම්මම 5 days යනවා right එතකොට මේ successor activity එක itself ඒගොල්ලෝ govern කරගන්නවා right but in Primavera it is not like that once you put the relationships ඒක ඒ වෙලාවේ move වෙන්නේ right there is something called schedule right once I schedule it but now MSP also introduced schedule tab but still it is moving once we apply the relationships the real sense what the what is called the IT people are saying that ඒක දැන් මුලින් දෙන රිලේෂන්ෂිප් එක MSP වල ගවන් වෙනවා කියන එක තමයි කියන්නේ. Primavera වල අපි one time දුන්නාට පස්සේ ඒක නිකන් අර දැලක් වගේ පල්ලෙහාට යනවා. අතන most critical එක තමයි ගවන් කරන්නේ. ඒක difference එකක් තියෙනවා technical කතාවක් ඒක. But it is also has some point. And other thing what I need to tell now in the Middle East countries for the linear programming like the roads, the pipelines, people are using the software called Telos. It is also linear programming. It is much easier to track the projects. Some projects actually I also use that linear programming methods. I think I answered.
Yes. Oh, so the bottom line, what I understood is Primavera is essential if you are going to be a planner or related profession in Middle East. So if you haven't done, so we have to start from today itself studying Primavera. I think that's the best outcome of it. And going back to, yes, thanks, Chatra. And you have mentioned something like the delays, which a certain amount of float can be absorbed by certain activities or say completion targets. You said that it is not a crime.
Yeah.
And once I could remember that there are certain milestone completions or the target completions defined by milestones. Does it carry this contractual obligation to complete milestones, or if we delay certain milestone, still can we catch those things? Or is there any provision again contractually, number one, and number two, when it comes to project planning, how we manage these milestone completions?
Yeah. In terms of milestones are concerned, there are two types of milestone. One is a contractual milestone, other one is the construction milestones. Construction milestone is not necessarily the same as the contractual milestone, right? Contractual milestone, contractual milestone, construction milestone. It's not a contractual milestone. You can interim milestone define final milestone. Then contract interim milestone was at LDs right? It's a contractual basis saying a delay analysis karadi interim milestone was at delay impact then delay event impact karar passe some interim contractual milestone ඒක extend වෙන්නේ නැත්තම් එතනදී A portion එකට අදාළව LDs තියෙනවා. දැන් A portion එකේ LD එක apply වෙනවා but time for completion එක සමහරවිට apply වෙන්නේ නැහැ. එහෙම වෙන වෙලාවල් තියෙනවා. right? ඒක ඇත්තම interim milestone වලට ඇත්තම වෙනම LD තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට ඒක ඒ විදිහට apply වෙනවා. contractual final milestone එකට වෙනම LD එකකුත් තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට ඔන්න ඒ විදිහට තමයි contractual milestone කතාව how it is going to be work out.
Yeah, Chatura, that if I am to take one of my personal experience of one of my key project, because as you mentioned, at the last wave, the third wave of having these weightages is a mixed development project. So we have one project in Sri Lanka with a mixed development of say the retail area, the business area, and the hotel, and as you mentioned, the apartment. So those are three different objectives,
yeah,
but with three different milestones. So opening up the retail area of the shopping mall is compulsory by say 31st of December. And if you delay, though it is a milestone, but I think that it comes under the category of contractual milestones, right? Because at opening of a shopping mall, if you delay the shopping mall, obviously there could be some repercussions.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's like I'm sure that that's a way of handling it, because mixed developments projects like having these different properties, obviously there are impacts, but when it comes to a road completion or something, if you don't have certain segments like say Kadawatha to Mirigama sector and Mirigama to say Sambya Kurunagala sector, so again that could be considered as contractual milestone, I believe that.
Yeah.
Any ideas? Yeah.
But in mix, I would like to add one thing, Nalin, in terms of the mixed development projects, okay, we need to check that contract is awarded as a whole, as a one contract. ඒක තමයි main point එක. දැන් සමහර වෙලාවට we could have to give in 2-3 contracts, but later we will compile as one contract by giving some sort of amendment and something like that. This is actually we need to deal case by case.
Right. Okay. Good. Thank you. And as we touched something about this float, I would like if you can say something about take 1 or 2 minutes to describe about the critical path. I think that path, because in projects what we know is if it is under critical path, then we have to put different weights, and if you have a different float, so we have to put different weights. Therefore, can you please elaborate a little bit about the critical path and how you see from this, especially from this Primavera, how you see, because in MS project what we can see, if you put that critical path, you can see a graphical way of showing the path. But when it comes to Primavera and the general project management, how you deal with this critical path, can you please take 1 or 2 minutes to describe?
Yes. The critical path by book, people are saying that the path where the total float is 0. This is the most famous definition which people are giving. Yeah, this is correct even. Again, if I say some stories about the critical path, in a Primavera, actually, when you use the tab of scheduling, under tab there are options we can set up. Even normally in a project, what we will do, okay, again I will tell something. It's like we have something like the longest path and critical path. Longest path is the one, the project is going to be longest chain of activities. Another most important thing is the longest path is always critical path, but all critical paths are not going to be longest path, right? There can be multiple critical paths. This is also different, story, something like that. There can be multiple critical paths, but if you are reviewing the project status in terms of the delay is concerned, always you will go with the longest path. Longest path is always critical path. Again, if I'm coming to your other point, Primavera, Nalin, we have something called, when we are scheduling, there's one window we can go to the options. Even critical path can be defined as, let's say, in a default, it is coming the 0 float in a default program. But if somebody need to define critical path as a -15 days float, again, we can change that one and we can schedule. If it is that, what will happen? The activities which is having minus 14 total flow, let's say, it will not show as the critical path. The what is going to be show as a critical path is minus 16 total flow, which is having that activity. It is going to be shown as a critical path. ඒක වෙනස් කරන්නත් පුළුවන් අපිට. ඒතකොට අපි සමහරලාට සමහර ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් වල අපිට හිතන්න පුළුවන් right. Okay. Project completion එකට 14 days තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට අපි හිතනවා right මේකේ critical එක කියලා අපි හිතන්නේ project එකේ 0 float තියෙන එක නෙමෙයි minus 10 days වලට වඩා වැඩි නම් අපිට critical කියලා. ඒ විදිහට අපිට ඒක දැන් firmware වල තියෙන තව එකක් තමයි customizable interfaces. ඔය විදිහට අපිට ඒක හරිය easily බලන්න පුළුවන්. ඔය critical path එක දැන් ඔය රතු වෙලා එනවා තමයි. ඒ වගේම මේක ඇතුලේ තියෙන content plot වලින් කොහොමද වෙනස් වෙන්නේ? ඒකේ තියෙන nearest critical path බලන්න පුළුවන් අපිට. ඒ විදිහට අපි nearest එක අපි define කරනවා. Let's say if it is less than, let's say 10 days total float, අපිට ඒක define කරගන්න පුළුවන් nearest critical path විදියට. දැන් delay analysis කරද්දිම අපි බලනවා ඒක. අපේ real critical path එක මොකද්ද, nearest critical path මොනවද? ඒ විදියට මම ඒක explain කරන්න අපි අර delay analysis එක කරද්දි පොඩ්ඩක් අපි ඒක ගැන කතා කරමු. elaboratively. මම ඒක answer කරාද?
Okay, thanks, Chandra. Because we have another session of another good session from you. Therefore, I think that we have enough time to have it. And Chatura, what generally do in contractors' experience, sometimes there are prospective delays by the contractor. That's quite obvious. And there are certain areas, for example, say if the contractor has sent his shop drawing to approve by the consultant, sometimes the consultant would not take, like, if you put, say, if I'm strategic enough and I'm a contractor, I can put some very limited time for the consultant to approve the drawings. And if I'm strategic enough, then I can put, say, for example, put only 1 week for the consultant to approve. And how we put the realistic weightages for certain approvals. Like sometimes the consultant would delay. There are two questions of this, two parts of this question particularly. One, how you put these values or the weightages for a approval process, say drawing or a method statement or ITP, the consultant has to approve. And this program is prepared by the contractor. So contractor can strategically put very low time for the consultant to approve, still the bigger times for the contractor to prepare them. And so that justification, how people can agree, there could be sometimes ambiguities by the contractor and the consultant himself, that my timing is not enough, but your timing is quite big, say preparation of drawing and approval of drawing. How you tackle, like, is it a good question to answer, or is it
no, it is good question to ask. You know, the number one answer to this question is that if you see the overall weightages, normally for the engineering we will allow roughly 2-3%. You know, the in terms of the earn value management, in terms of the plan value generation is concerned, it is having less impact at the whole. This is what I mean. In terms of the engineering, yes. In terms of the value, what I mean, you know, in terms of the earn value concern. But in terms of the time, if there is a delay in engineering, yes, time-wise it is a big, because if there is a no drawing, I cannot do it. But in terms of the variance in S-curves, it may be less, but in terms of the time, it may be big. You know, if I come to the second question, what will happen normally in the programs, we will agree with the consultant that how many cycles we go in approval. ඒක දැන් වෙන්නේ අපි revision 0 දුන්නම revision 1 2 3 5 6 යනවනේ ඔක. ඒක we will agree into some extent, and the initial stage we will go on 2 cycles, 0 and 1 only. ඒකෙදී once what will happen practically, if you put the more dates for the contractor, let's say 30 days to prepare shop drawing and approve the 7 days for the consultant, what will happen once you submit the baseline program? Definitely they will come back and say that, okay, you need to give that for us 14 days, for you 14 days. In the initial stage, when before approve the program, definitely the engineer or consultant or whatever the employer side, they will question back and change that. in generally, it is a 14 and 14, sometimes a 14 and 7. It depends. Sometimes in a particular condition, it is mentioned. The contractor is given 14 days. The client also given 14 days. Client's one, it is going to be sometimes like a working days. Sometimes the contractor is going to be like a calendar days. But it is the way in which that people work. But once you submit to consultant for approval, I cannot say the approval, for his consent, and that question will be raised, and both parties will come to the settlement where I will give you 14 days, and for me I need 14 days. In the first instance, that problem is going to be resolved in general.
Thank you, Chatur. And Chatur, I am really happy that if you can stay for a while for some questions from the audience as well. There are 3 hand raised.
Yeah.
Sanjay, can we give the opportunity for the audience? They can. Is it allowed right now?
Yeah, Callum, you can ask the question.
Yeah, and Callum and all the audience, please keep your questions very brief, and we'll give an opportunity for everybody who can raise your hands. If you have any question in this Zoom platform, please raise your hands. Then we'll give the priority under first come, first serve basis. So we have Callum, Charmikar, and Mohammed Alpha, 3 hand raised right now. And if you have any other questions, please raise your hand. Sanjay, please proceed.
චතුර මට ප්‍රශ්න ගන්න නලින් ඇහුවා පින්වීර අද MS ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකේ ප්‍රශ්නේ හරි අනිත් එක ගොඩක් ඉන්ජිනියර්ස්ලා ඉහිල්ලා කරන්නේ QS ජොබ් තමයි මිඩල් ඊස්ට් වල ප්ලෑනින් පැත්ත කවුරුත් ප්‍රොමෝට් කරන්නේ නැහැ ඒ කියන්නේ ප්ලෑනින් පැත්තේ ඔපචුනිටිස් තියෙනවද සහ අපි ලංකාවේ කොන්ටෙක්ස්ට් එකත් එක්ක ගිහිල්ලා එකපාරට ඒකට සෙට් වෙන්න කොහොමද එතන තියෙන ජොබ් එකට එකපාරට ගිහිල්ලා සීනියර් ලෙවල් එකට යන්න බෑනේ ඒකට සෙට් වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියන එකයි තව එක අහනවනේ PMP එක එහෙදි රික්වයර්මන්ට් එක මස්ට් එකක්ද නැත්නම් ඒක තියෙන එක වැඩි හොඳයිද කියලා PMP ගන්න පුළුවන් ක්වොලිෆිකේෂන්
කැලුම් නේද කැලුම් ඇත්තටම දැන් ප්ලෑනින් කන්ටෙක්ස් එකේ දැන් ඔන්න ඔය ටික දැන් ඔය ඕන නොලෙජ් ගැප් එක තමයි මම දුන්නේ දැන් අපේ කට්ටියට ඇත්තටම enough they have capable of doing anything as a Sri Lankans ඇත්තටම ඒක අපි ඔතන බලන්න ඕන knowledge gap එක තමයි ඔය ස්කර්ව් ජෙනරේට් කරන එකයි ඒ ටික ඒ පොඩි knowledge එක අපි පොඩ්ඩක් අරන් ගියොත් අපිට ඒක easy තමයි එහෙ වැඩ කරද්දි මොකද අපි දන්නේ නැහැ ගිය හැටි දැන් මම මුලින්ම ගිය හැටි මම දන්නේ නැහැ මේකේ කොහොමද weightage ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ මට ඒක තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ මටත් කාලයක් යනවා ඉගෙන ගන්න. එතකොට දැන් ඔන්න ඔය set of knowledge එක ගත්තාම අපිට ඒක හරි ලේසි මේව කරන්න. ඒකට කෝප් වෙලා ඉන්න අනිත් එක තමයි engineering opportunities ගත්තම planning පැත්තේ huge opportunity එකක් තියෙනවා මම දැන් නලින් එක්කත් මම කතා කරලා තියෙනවා මේක we need I am voluntarily I like to give my service for the to conduct like say the 3 months small course like per week we will give some sort of knowledge ඒක finally student ලාට අපිට දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් university එකේ අර elective course එකක් විදියට හරි මොකක් හරි ක්‍රමයකට අපිට ඒක දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් මේ knowledge base එකයි skill එකයි මේ ටික එතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ out වෙද්දිම ඒගොල්ලෝ equipped with the required knowledge and we can train another 6 months in one organization and some relative place but we can send them to the Middle East countries ඒක මටත් ඇත්තටම idea එකක් තියෙනවා ඒ ගැන මම කතා කරලා තියෙනවා ගොඩක් මගේ personal level එකකින් මම මේ 20 විතර දැන් train කරලා තියෙනවා මට ඒක තමයි මට කරන්න පුළුවන් මේක policy making support එකක් ඕන මේකට ඇත්තටම අපිට ඒක තියෙනවා නම් ලොකු huge opportunity එකක් තියෙනවා ඒක මොකද ගොඩක් දැන් Indian කට්ටිය ඒක එතකොට Arabic කට්ටිය තමයි මේ area එකේ ඉන්නේ මොකද මේ area එකේ planning කියන එකට වඩා අපි ඒ කියන්නේ senior level එකට යද්දි වෙන්නේ ඔය claim management එකයි delay analysis පැත්තට තමයි අපි ගොඩක් එතකොට යන්නේ. එතකොට ඒක ඇත්තටම huge demand එකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට QS ලගේ profession එකේ knowledge base එකයි දෙකම ඒ කියන්නේ combine වෙලා engineering knowledge එකත් එක්ක යන්න පුළුවන් හොඳ area එකක්. ඒක huge potential එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා මම believe කරන්නේ. ඒක අපිට පුළුවන් ඒක කරන්න අපිට යන්න පුළුවන් එතනට මම අතට big hand දෙන්න කැමතියි අපි බලමු මේක එක් කරන්න. අනිත් එක තමයි PMP එක කිව්වොත් එහෙනම් PMP will definitely help. දැන් මමත් PMP certified කෙනෙක් නෙමෙයි, but PMP knowledge will help ඇත්තටම. එතකොට ඒක අපිට කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් ඒ knowledge එක help වෙනවා අනිවාර්යෙන්ම. සහ ජොබ් එක හොයා ගැනීමේදී පොඩි ප්ලස් පොයින්ට් එකක් තියෙනවා නැත්නම්.
Thank you, Chandra.
අපි චාමිකරට යමු සංජය පොඩ්ඩක් අපිට
Chamikara? Yeah, Chamikara.
Yeah, Chatura, one of my practical experience, is there any rules or what are the contractual support for the defining weightages? One of my projects, client has given all weightages from let's say 500 or 100 or 150 WBS. Then they have given all the weightages, but we object, no, some weightage to be revised. So you clearly told front loaded or back loaded, but client did not give any chance to revise it. What are the rules or what are the contractual provisions to that contractor can engage for that defining weightage?
Of
I
course.
think what's my point?
Yeah,
Can you explain it?
Yeah, I will explain it. If you go to, some sort of contracts in the Middle East, even I would say that Muzunada contracts, let's say in Abu Dhabi, they clearly mention this is the weightage. This is the weightage system. They have given like a 5-6 pages of document which is as a part of contract by saying that this is the time control procedure. In a contract, before signing itself, the contractor knows that this is the way in which that we are going to load the cost or load the weightage or whatever. In that sense, you have less chance as a contractor because in a contract itself, it is mentioned clearly, this is the way you are going to load the weightage. In this case, very difficult to negotiate. In my personal experience also, if they say that, okay, this is the weightage, it is in a contract, how we can argue? Before sign the contract, it was there. So because under the time control procedure, reference to the particular condition or special condition. So in that case, less chance. But if there is nothing called weightage defined in a contract, yes, we have chance. We can say that if, okay, you should have point saying that, okay, if I loaded in such a way which you propose, this is the complication, this is the way in which it will happen. Like it is going to be backloaded curve. It is going to be not good for you. Again, if it is front loaded, it is not good for me. We need to come to some sort of negotiation, some platform by bringing our arguments in a sustainable way. This is what I call sustainable way. It should not be biased to the contractor or employer. We should have to come to some point. So that, it is possible. It is possible. As per my experience, it is possible. We need to make a good case. Chamikara, did I answer?
Yeah, perfectly answered. Thank you very much. Thank you, Wilda.
Mohammed Alfred?
Yes, good evening. My question is, I am familiar with the, can you hear me?
Yes, Muhammad.
I am familiar with the Primavera,
Yeah.
but I don't have any knowledge about the MS project.
Yeah.
What is the necessity of becoming familiar in MS project when a person already familiar in Primavera?
Yeah, it is basically those are called softwares. What I believe personally, let me answer in this way, because the software, software are created by the human being. A lot of people are saying in planning jargon, a lot of people are saying that, okay, software is given this result. If it is that, my question is why you are here. I'm not asking for you, but in a general, planning context, because software is developed by the human being, and don't let softwares to drive us. This is my opinion, actually. A lot of people sometimes say that software is giving this answer, but it should be, parallel and explainable in a practical way, because all the time what is given by the software should have common sense. This is my point, because software is a tool we develop to manage the project much easier. My answer to that question is that, forget about the Primavera or MS project or Talos. You need to have good planning skills, good scheduling skills, no matter what is the software is. Because software is like, because in my CV, if you see that, I never put the Primavera Profilians. I hate to put it because I'm not Profilian as a person. I'm not, the man who's had good, hands-on experience in terms of Primavera, because Primavera having thousands of, tools. In my level, I'm using like a 10% of the tools, because that's why I don't like to put Profilians in a software, because Profilian in software is a different thing for me. You need to Profilian in terms of the strategizing the project, the planning the project, the scheduling the project, and the skill in terms of the negotiation and sort of things. This is the way how I think. Forget about what software you are in, but you need to have a set of the skills in terms of the strategization.
Especially Chatru, that as he has a good knowledge in Primavera, I don't think that you need to learn other software, because that Primavera is good enough to manage properly, right?
Yes, of course, of course.
Yes, we'll go for the next question, Sanjay.
Yeah, Yogarajan.
Hello.
Yes,
Thank you for
Yogarajan.
your valuable lecture. Can you hear me?
Yes, tell me.
Thank you for lecture. My question is, you mentioned that the FIDIC 217, the contract engineer has to respond for the contractors every revised program. But is how engineer can mention this extension is approved with cost claim and without cost claim, because some extension that cost claim is not approved. I'm asking that.
Chatru, that same question he has texted me as well, but I've saved it for the next session. But yeah, you can take your time and answer it, please.
Yeah, I think once I do next lecture, the things might be much clear. But just I will give quick answer to that, because in terms of the, there are two type of claims, like time claims and cost claims. Basically, if you get awarded the extension of time, it doesn't mean that you are automatically entitled for the cost, because you need to check the concurrencies. You need to check how the concurrencies work in terms of the engineer's delays as well as the contractor's culpable delay. In the delay analysis techniques, what we are going to do this time impact analysis, and in TIA, just say there are a number of methods, what I'm going to explain in next session. But in this, delay analysis techniques, what we are going to do, we are going to determine what is the time impact in terms of the time is concerned. The same time, we will do the analysis in terms of the culpability, and we will do the concurrency analysis. From that one, we could have to figure out, let's say the extension of time is 60 days. From 60 days, how much you will be entitled for the prolongation cost, let's say 35 days. This answer will come once you do the concurrency analysis. From that one only, you can determine and judge how much the time you will entitle for the prolongation cost. It is not same as what is given in extension of time claim. Extension of time may be 60 days. That might be 30 days, maybe 0. This will be discussed in next session. I think you will get a clear view on that.
Sitik in first.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your informative presentation.
Thank you.
My question is, in case of planning engineer's perspective, the next technical skills I think a planning engineer should have, VLOOKUP and Power BI and this kind of dashboard creation or something. That means the data visualization skill. how do you think? What about your idea? Because I have been interviewed in Middle East countries. Those interviews had the question VLOOKUP. Do you know the VLOOKUP and data? I mean the dashboard creation and those kind of ideas. How do you? What about your perspective, your point of view?
Yeah, of course, good question. I even forget to mention that before, because in terms of the interactive dashboard is concerned, the Power BI is going to be the big blow, big vital role playing in interactive dashboards. It is, yes, you are correct. If you have good knowledge in terms of the Power BI, it definitely will help. It is not such a necessary, it is like a tool where you can present project progress, and it is like a more interactive, because once you let's say VS level 2, automatically the curve for the WS2 is going to be changed. It is much more important sometimes for the project managers to take management decision in that particular WBS2 area. So, because if it is not interactive, we need to analyze the data and take this answer. But once we integrate SQL Server into the Power BI, automatically those things will be reflected in one dashboard. This is also very important. Actually, I would say that the using Power BI is like a customized tool. If you work in an MEP contractor, sometimes the items, the data sets which we are going to integrate into the Power BI dashboards is different from the civil contractor, because it is totally dependent on what the project manager looks from the interactive dashboard. That's why the knowledge in terms of the VLOOKUP is one function of the Excel, which I know I'm not wrong. But in terms of the Power BI, yes, you are correct. If you could have some sort of knowledge and the skills by using the YouTube is the good tool now to learn those things. Yes, the greatly will help in future for sure.
We have Kasapa as well.
Yes, thank you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Kasapa, yes.
This is regarding this EOT submission and approval process. So in most of these government projects in Sri Lanka, now the contractors also tend to submit this request for EOT very late, near the end of the original contract period. And also this approval also takes some long time, and sometimes this even the approval is not granted until this original contract is over. So as per the practice in the Middle East, do they submit this EOT request as soon as some delay event happens, or do they also wait until the end of this contract to submit? That is my question. Thank you.
Yeah, in the Middle East context, actually, the waiting until last moment is generating something called the time at large, which we discuss in the contractual jargon lot and lot. If you go to the Google and just type the time at large, you will get more knowledge and how it is going to be applied. So I'm not going to talk about that one right now. It will take time. So, and the second question, yes. In the Middle East context, what will happen? Okay, the variance in terms of the plan and actual is go beyond, like, there's a no hard and fast rule like that. Let's say the plan progress is 20%, actual progress is 10%. There's no rule or no book says that, okay, this is the where you need to go recovery or you need to do delay analysis and find the UT. There's no hard and fast rule, or no book has says that one. In the common sense, what will happen, the once we are driving with the project, we will find some point where that we 100% confident that we could not finish the project on time. In such a case, as I said, normally we maintain the delay tracking register. Remember? So what will happen, the time we convinced that we could not finish, we will go to the delay tracking register and see that how and how many delay events and how in which that we can make the story in terms of the EOT is concerned. in the point where we think that as a contractor, okay, this is having enough merited strong delay events, as well as the same time we could not achieve the time for completion. So this is the time we will decide. We are not waiting until last moment, for sure. It is substantial amount of delay. Let's say project completion is 300 days. Let's say we are go beyond delay like 60 days. Okay, we think that this is the time we need to raise. But again, I would like to say you, there's no hard and fast rule. It is common sense practically, but definitely we are not wait until last moment. If maybe EOT is granted maybe in a 3-year projects, maybe 3-4 times sometimes, in my experience. It depends on the how project moves, but in generally, this is what I say.
Yeah, I think Sanjay, we don't have any hand raises, I think. Sanjay?
Yeah, we don't have anyone.
Right, and with that remark, I think Chatura, do you have any final remarks to make?
Thank you. Yeah, this is a great privilege, as you know. What I can say that, you know, I would like to share my experience, which I gather in terms of the EOT and claim management. Maybe this is going to be much help for the people, especially who fly to the Middle East in next, maybe let's say 6 months to 1 year. So hope this will help, and as well as I would like to give big hand for people who need to, you know, fill this knowledge gap for sure. And we think about how we can, you know, cater this knowledge to the academic people like final year graduates. So we will talk about this one later.
Thank you, Chatura, and thank you very much. And if I am to make a final remark, I could remember one of our economists told maybe 3 months ago that we as Sri Lankans, we have some export market for tea, coconut and rubber for last 30, 40 years. But we talk about these new market expansions, like maybe the other areas which we have to work with. We talk about the knowledge hubs and how we do these businesses and how to capture this global market. But for that, definitely we have to go with some new knowledges. So therefore, I believe that instead of simply going as a civil engineer or a mechanical engineer or a project manager to Middle East, we have some specialist professions. Like when I saw your accolades as forensic delay analyst, then I thought that, okay, this is a good opportunity. This is a new opportunity. Yeah. Obviously, we have some, say, niche market, which has the higher profit. That's the basics of the businesses. So with that remark, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that we have learned a lot, the jargons and the opportunities, and where we can expand ourselves instead of having the basic degree or the certificate or the diploma. We have to work with some additional knowledge to tackle with this current context. And if you wish to go for a good package or a good profession, obviously you have to work hard. You have to be different from the natural lot. So that's the simple basic. And you people, we have right now 359 people right now, and you are a different set of people. At the beginning, we saw closer to 1,000 people, but you have stayed until this Q&A session finished, which means you need something more than the certificate of. I have seen about 200-300 people just dropped out by marking the attendance sheet. So that's not the purpose of having this sort of a CPD program. So I especially thank for these 359 participants, particularly staying until the last moment to grab the final drops of knowledge, by especially from this genius person, I should say. One of my batchmates happened to be my batchmate, and I know the reality behind this Chatura, and Chatura is a very serious person, particularly in subject, his own subject. And I know how big of effort he has put for last 1 month of time to prepare this presentation. Therefore, Chatura, hats off on behalf of CECB and the engineering professionals of the Sri Lankan context itself. And thank you very much, Chatura, for having this wonderful session. And I'm sure that these openings have given a lot of opportunities to these young engineers or young professionals. Maybe people have not learned anything out of this presentation, but they have understood there are opportunities and there are ways and means of developing our career. That's itself will be good enough. With that remark, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You have been a great audience, and we'll see you by next Sunday, same time, with another fruitful session. And Chatura especially, thank you very much for being with us. And we hopefully look forward to your second session and with much more good participants as well as much more knowledge. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a pleasant evening and good night.